Gerard Lycon. Here. Mark DeMarcus. Here. Jim McMahon.
Here.
Colleen Dunn.
Here.
Ed Murphy. Here.
Okay, so I see a lot of people out in the audience, okay? That's great. So public opinion is at the end of the applicant's presentation. So I please beg you not to blurt out, make comments, because it's just going to interfere with the proceedings of this hearing board. When you do come up to the microphone, please make sure the green light is on and you get sworn in, okay? So with that being said, let's get started on Serafin Corona, 1701 Maple Avenue, Croydon, PA. Please come on up.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you before you start, it looks like you amended your application on February 1st to add a side yard setback variance in addition to the impervious surface?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that wasn't how it was originally advertised, so you're going to have to re-advertise and come back because the public needs to be on notice of the relief you're seeking before the hearing.
Okay,
So, would you like a continuance?
yes.
Okay.
Bob?
Did you mail out new mailers to the neighbors and post the property? Yeah.
Yes, I did.
It was re-advertised again.
Okay, do you have those mailers with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, then let me see it. I didn't know you reposted. Okay, and what was the notice that accompanied this? Where's the actual notice? Because this is dated in January. I realize it's only 4 days before, but, or 5 days before. Can I see the notice that you sent out with this?
Yes. I don't have it with me.
It's okay. Let's just see what we got. Thanks.
Real quick, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. People out in the audience, if you have the agenda in your hand and you notice that we skipped one, we're going to do, we came to talk with the board, we came to a conclusion that we're going to do 1 and 3 at the end of the meeting and get the other ones out of the way because we believe 1 and 3 are going to be the longest. So at the advice of council, we can do that.
Yep. That's okay. We can proceed.
Can you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Can you state your name for the record, please, and spell it?
Yeah, my name is Serafin Carreno, Serafin Carreno.
Good, you can continue.
I'm here requesting impervious surface and side yard for a garage.
So you've been before us before you got a continuance because you had to add a variance, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
Could you kind of refresh our memory a little bit on what's going on, like, you added on to the garage, correct? Is that?
I extend, yes. I got an existing garage, I just extend.
And what's the side yard setback right now as that's what you're, that's the new variance, right? The side yard setback, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what's the setback you have now?
What was it?
Can I get sworn in?
You gotta, yeah, sure.
I'm Tracy Miller.
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Sure.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, make sure you speak into the microphone.
Sure. So the original detached garage was at 6 feet. The newer garage is at 3'2". And the required side setback is 12 feet.
Okay. Do you have any more to add, or is that? All right, questions from the board? Anybody?
I got a question. I noticed on your plan here on the new garage, I still don't see the telephone pole on here in front of the garage. Did you contact Pico and have it removed?
Yes, we did. They said they can remove it to either side, but we haven't heard from them anymore. They were supposed to go
When did you
and,
contact them? It's not on the plan here. I don't see it.
No, it's not.
Okay,
it's
because that's dead center of the garage, like
correct.
right in front of your door. That's a big concern. It's a big pole. There's a lot of stuff. I know Pico don't move stuff easily. Do you have any letters from Pico saying they're gonna move it?
We trying to get a letter yet, but no, nothing so far.
Okay,
But
that's
we
all,
did contact Pico.
that's all I gotta say.
Okay.
I just have one question. You said the setback is 3'2" from the property line, but the gutters, where do they hang over? How far out are they?
Well, they have,
'Cause I'm looking at a picture of the house. It looks like it's almost on the property line.
no, I would say it's about maybe 16 inches to 20 inches away from the property. I got a picture, maybe I can show you.
And this obviously is existing, right? This has been there. How long has it been there?
It's about 5 years. For the extension, correct. For the original garage, has been there since I bought the property. No, I'm sorry, I don't have it.
I actually have a picture in my phone of it. I can go by the property to look at it, so I see it.
So you bought the house with the existing garage there?
Correct.
Okay. Bob, is that grandfathered in any way whatsoever?
No.
Okay. The impervious surface part of it is the existing garage and the new part you put on, or is it just the existing garage you need the impervious for?
No, the part that I add on.
The part that you added?
Yes, correct.
So he's good on the impervious if that shed's not added?
I would have to do a recalculation, but I think that's correct, Jim.
Okay. All right. All right. I'm just trying to feel out the options here. So, anybody else have any questions from the board? Okay. Anybody from the audience? Come on up, sir. Right there.
Hello.
Can you raise your right hand?
Certainly.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Please state your name. Please
Richard Ulrich,
spell your last name, please.
Ulrych,
State your address, please.
1700 Prospect Avenue. So I brought some photos if anyone's interested in looking at them.
Oh, yeah, we have the photos from last.
From the last time, yeah, I know I presented them then.
I'm sorry, I can't speak for everybody. If anybody else wants the pictures, that's fine.
So everyone's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that previously there had been a carport where this garage now is. I wouldn't exactly call this an addition onto a garage, because the carport consisted of 4 poles, a roof, and a concrete slab, and it was much smaller
much smaller and far less, how do I say, farther away from my property line and causing far less impervious surface. So this is just a new garage that was built. And as far as I know, it's not really being used as a garage, so maybe
So when you sold him the house, right, sir?
I didn't sell anyone a house.
Oh, okay. I thought you said last time you sold that.
No, my parents, I'm living in the home of my parents.
Okay.
So they bought their home in '57.
Right.
And so I've had an opportunity over the years to see how the neighborhood developed. And that used to be an empty lot, then house was built, et
You're saying the
cetera.
existing garage that's there now, not the part he put in, the existing garage now is a carport, or?
That is correct.
Okay.
It was, as I say, 4 poles, a ceiling, and a concrete slab that a car
Do you
could
have any
stand
idea
on.
when the garage was built?
I mean, because it was when that home was built, the original home was built, and I have difficulty saying, now I'm gonna calculate it, I would say that it was probably in the late 70s, or the mid or late 70s, so in that
Mr.
timeframe.
Carino did not build the garage.
You mean the original carport?
The
That is
original.
correct, he did not build it. I don't even know who, excuse me, who built it. And then he either demolished probably demolished or took away what little was there, and then built a brand-new garage and additional space, because the original carport was, I would say, half the size of this, perhaps even a little bit less. I would think that there'd be plans somewhere that would identify the actual dimensions of that.
There's nothing on record, Bob, saying this garage was built with permits or anything like that.
Now, just to touch back on your statement earlier, the proposed addition is 590 square foot, and he's over 513, so if that addition wasn't there, he would be under his impervious.
Okay. But he's still got the side yard setback problem.
Yes.
Okay. All right, is that all, sir?
Well, I mean, other than the fact that, yeah, I guess everything I had to say, I think I said at the last meeting,
Right.
where there is probably additional flooding on my property because of the impervious surface that's being caused by this structure,
Okay.
though I can't verify that in any specific way. Do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? All right. Anybody else from the audience? Okay. I need a motion to approve or accept this application.
I'll make a motion to deny.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Do I have any motion on the approval of this application? Okay. So let's stop right there before we go any further. So we're denying the approval of both variances, impervious and side yard setback. Okay. So what are our options here? That's before we get any further.
Goes to code enforcement.
Okay.
Or he appeals.
And they decide what he's got to do.
It's always an option.
And then he's got to decide, they got to decide what he's got to do with the existing and the garage. Okay, all right. So I was at a motion to approve. I see none. I call the board, Mr. Secretary.
It was a motion to deny.
I mean, yeah, but I wanted to make sure there was no motion to approve also. All right?
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus. Gerard Lycon. Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
Okay, so you've been denied, so, I guess they can come see you, Bob? Okay, and, you know, to see what your options are, I guess we're not here to determine that, so, if you speak with Mr. McTeague, tomorrow, whenever,
Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow, 7:30 to 3:30, so.
all right? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is, we're gonna go number 4.
Jim,
Oh,
1 second, please.
all right, so next on the agenda, we're gonna do number 4. Michael Cook, 1249 Byberry Road, Philadelphia, PA. Please come on up. How you doing?
Fine, how you guys doing?
Yep, sorry.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Michael Cook.
Okay, and speak up into the mic, please, so we can hear you.
Michael Cook.
Great. Can you bring up your mail-ins and the proof of property posting? It's hysterical. Okay, and what about the posting? Was the property posted? Do you have a picture of it?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Can you show me a picture of it?
No, we didn't take a picture. We weren't told to take pictures of it.
Okay, so
We
it says-
passed out all the leaflets to the surrounding businesses. I think Ray had some signatures done, and these signs even blew off
verify
one
it? Okay.
time.
All right,
And we
we-
put them right back on the same day.
We have verification it was posted, that's
I
fine.
rode by the property yesterday, too. It
You
was
can
posted.
proceed.
Yes, you can proceed. That's right. Go ahead, with your presentation. Go, you can go with your presentation.
Okay.
This is the blueprints we added.
Wait a second, I'm gonna have
Oh, you want to?
Oh, I'm sorry. Ray Richardson?
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
State your name, please, sir.
Ray Richardson? We're adding the second floor on the property at 6950 Bristol Army Road. It's the same size as the bottom floor. So we've been there for 32 years and for storage.
Want me to help a little, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay, the parking lot's still the original parking lot. They had approximately 14 or 15 spots. The addition that we're doing, the second floor, is just for storage. There's no more customers, and there's no more employees. It's when Ray comes to a location, because he has several of them, he needs an office there. He has an office there. We had 15 spots, but it wasn't put on the plot plan. We had that done, we have a copy of that.
I can show you a copy of that if you like.
Sure, come on up.
We paid to have it surveyed, and the,
Hold on, one at a time.
This is the additional building here, and we're just going on, putting a second floor. So the parking's remaining the same, the whole building's remaining the same. So we're just adding an office in here, and the rest will be for storage,
Okay.
for holiday, artificial flowers and stuff like that. Okay? I have another copy here if you want to see what the outside would look like.
I think we're good. I think we have a copy.
You have a copy?
that it for your presentation? Kevin, anything more to add?
Not really.
No, no, I don't think so, no. I was gonna say something, but I'm not going to.
Good idea. The less said, sometimes the better. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so just to clarify, no living space at all whatsoever, just an office?
Just office and storage, that's it.
You have a question. Off-road parking, obviously, there's no off-road parking. It's Emily Road or, what's the other road on the side
Edgeley
there?
Road. Emily,
Emily and Edgeley.
yeah.
It comes to 5 points.
Right, there's no off-road parking. So I get the waiver here, trying to get it, waived.
Right, and all of our
But I
work,
just see you starting construction already. You got like 5 courses of block up already.
well, we just took it down, took the roof off and got it up to
The
the
first
level
floor.
where the steel
Okay.
is going to go.
Yeah.
And we have already talked
Yeah, I just
about
see
that.
just the variance here that you're looking for.
If it means anything, the employees can park in the gas station.
Yeah, that's
There's,
Wait, one at a time, please.
Sorry.
if it means anything, to relieve some of the parking over there, so when the customers come in, the employees will park over at the gas station, because that's what we do.
So let's get into the loading and unloading of trucks.
Okay.
What kind of vehicles do you have coming in there unloading?
24-foot straight jobs.
So,
Yeah, so we just back into the loading dock and we unload.
I mean, they've been there for years, and
Been there
I've
30.
never seen a problem up there.
No, we've been there 32 years. We have
And
permission
I
from the
see what
right.
they're doing. They extended the roof up. I seen that when I was
so
over
we
there.
have, we have permission from the Rite Aid for employees to park, as we've been parking there for years, and we've been parking
And even
across
on the
street.
holidays, when I stop in there, it's fine. I mean, I get Halloween decorations, all that stuff. I've
Yeah.
never had a problem
I
going
mean,
in
we've been
there.
there forever.
Yeah, yep.
all right, Bob, now it's your turn. What's your feelings on this?
It's a straightforward variance, Jim. I mean, the way the code's written for retail use, it's by gross floor area. As you can see, he's adding storage and office, so that's not gonna grow any. So, I mean, they've been here for a long
It's just-
time. They're a staple in the community, so.
It's just a lot harder to get with the chain broken for supplies. It's a lot harder to get the supplies that we need to stay in business. So, like some of our artificial flowers and scarecrows and stuff like that, we have to buy like 9 months in advance, or we don't ever get it on time.
Okay.
So we just need storage to have the stuff so we're ready for the next holidays and stuff like that.
Anybody else have any questions from the board? Anybody from the audience like to come up for or against this project? All right, I need a motion.
I'll give a motion for it.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Gerard Lycon,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck, guys.
Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Can I get that plan back, or do you need to keep that?
No, you can take it back.
Thank you.
Good, how you feel? Good. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have to ask.
No, I know, I'm just saying, unless it was there, I just didn't notice it. Good luck.
All right. Next on the agenda, VSP Enterprises LLC, care of Brian Kennedy, 3 Sarah Drive, Newtown, PA. Please come on up.
Engineer. Yep. Good evening, everyone.
Raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and spell, please.
Yes, Brian Conlon, Conlon, and Brian, Brian. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. You have your mailings?
Yes.
Proof of posting? Okay, we're good.
Good. Again, is it on? Yep. Brian Conlon, I'm with Langen Engineering and Environmental Services. I'm a professional engineer hired by Brian Kennedy here. Next to me is the property owner and applicant. And the property, the subject property is 1407 Hardy Street. We submitted the site plan with our zoning application. Some quick information about the site. It's about 0.35 acres. It's located at the corner of Hardy Street and Airport Road. The lot itself is about 125 feet by 125 feet. The zone is M2, heavy manufacturing, and the majority of the area is also either M2, P1, and there is one commercial lot across the street. The site is basically vacant today, a paved lot, fenced in, that 0.35 acres. No improvements are on it. And Brian is proposing a 4,200 square foot pole barn, kind of a mini warehouse storage facility to use for his expanding business. Brian works for Snap-on, and again, he's expanding his route and his business, and hence the need for an additional facility. Brian actually also owns the property directly north, just FYI, adjacent to this site. And as part of that, we are seeking 3 variances. If you want me to go through them, or I'll pause there for a moment.
Yeah, please.
Go through. Okay, so 3 variances we are seeking relief of. The first one from section 205-61E3, and that's for the required rear yard. There is a required rear yard of 30 feet, and this is to the west side of our property opposite Hardy Road. We're proposing 20 feet in lieu of the 30 feet required. The second variance requested, section 205-109, for a 0-foot buffer where 25 feet is required along the frontage of Airport Road, adjacent. Again, we're across from a commercial zone, so there was a requirement for a 25-foot buffer. We're proposing a 0-foot, but in lieu of that, we are proposing about a 6 to 8 foot landscape buffer in the legal right-of-way that we're dedicating to the township. Excuse me, the future right-of-way that we're dedicating to the township. And last but not least, and I don't know if we need it or not, we did notice it for it, from section 205-122 of the code for off-street loading facilities. And the section states, Section A of 205-122, off-street loading facilities shall be provided for any use hereafter established or enlarged, which customarily receives or distributes goods or materials by trucks. Again, Brian's business, he anticipates no truck service. Again, it's basically for his own warehousing, and a lot of the materials and stuff he picks up himself and will bring it to the new pole barn / garage. And they're the three items we're seeking assistance with tonight.
Is this the same property that has all the U-Haul trucks on?
It did, yes.
Oh, it did?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, let's clear it.
Oh, sorry.
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Brian Kennedy?
Thank you.
So it used to have all the U-Haul trucks on it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as of yesterday, they were still there. So you got rid of them today?
Not on the property of the, where the land part was.
Okay.
They're on the other property with the pole barn.
Okay, so that's your property also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, all right. Okay,
That's the one directly north of our site.
okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I got one. Brian, the gate you're gonna be using, is that gonna be the gate with the chain link or the aluminum gate?
The chain link.
So that'll be facing Hardy Street?
Yes, sir.
So, you're not using a side gate?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, Bob? Nothing to add. Anybody from the audience? Okay. Let's do it. Motion.
I'll give a motion for it.
Call the board.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Gerard Lycon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you.
Okay, next up, number 1 on the agenda. Nancy Chen and Saya Chen, 3220 Carroll Court, Bensalem, PA. Please come on up.
Good. Sorry, say again? Okay. You can proceed.
Good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan here on behalf of the applicants, Nancy and Shuhai Chen. They're the owners of the property located at 621 Neshaminy Road in Croydon, Pennsylvania. As a housekeeping matter, I have two individuals here with me this evening. I have Nancy Chen, who's one of the owners of the property, together with her daughter, Amy Chen. Amy will be providing some testimony on behalf of Nancy and Shuhai. Amy's been involved in the property, and she's the go-to person for this particular issue. As to the actual property itself, by way of background, it's a .164 acre parcel that's currently zoned R2 residential. It fronts Neshaminy Road, and it backs up to Neshaminy Creek. The property is presently improved by a single-family detached dwelling, together with some associated residential improvements, which include a deck to the rear and a rear dock. And that's essentially what we're here for today. The applicants purchased the property back in November of 2021 with the original intent of using the home as a rental. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Chen plan on living at the property, but when they were going through the rental process, they were attempted to obtain a use and occupancy permit from the township. And during that process, township came out and found that the deck and dock that were installed by the prior owner were A, done without permits, B, violated multiple zoning ordinances, and C, were structurally unsafe such that they could not be fit for human habitation. So, minor issues, right? So anyhow, that's when Nancy and Shuhai got my office involved. They also obtained a structural engineer as well as a deck contractor, and they got to work. And luckily, or fortunately here, the township has been kind enough to provide us some opportunity in order to get the appropriate documents here, some of which we have before you tonight. Specifically, the zoning issues, first and foremost. Primarily, the deck to the rear of the property literally extends the bounds from side yard setback to side yard, or property line, rather. The side property line to the side property line, and then all the way to the rear to the point where the property meets the Neshaminy Creek. So, as a result, we need a side yard setback variance, a rear yard setback variance, together with a variance to allow a deck to be built within a designated setback. Lastly, we also need a variance related to impervious surface to permit a ratio of 44.1%, because the 250 square foot deck, together with a walkway that was from the front of the property to the rear of the property, were done without permits. The parcel already was likely pre-existing non-conforming with respect to impervious, so any additional work done requires a variance. So we're here today to respectfully request those 4 variances, and also to briefly address as well the more concerning issue, if you ask me, which is the safety-related issue as well. So, like I said, I have Amy Chen with me here this evening. She's going to come up in a quick moment, but first let me go through what we have for you this evening. So first here, which it's a collection of photographs that I would mark as Applicant's Exhibit 1, A1. And if we look, the first photograph will show the house to the bottom middle. That is the house at issue. That's an aerial shot from the front. And all these pictures, for the record, are from the MLS listing from when my clients purchased the property in 2021. So all of these issues pre-existed then. So that's the picture of the house. Now if we go to 2, that's the rear. It's again a drone shot of the rear of the property, and you see the deck that is between the rear of the house and the creek, together with the dock, and that's what we're here for today. Picture 3 shows it a little bit clearer. Again, plain old wooden deck. Picture 4, the deck and the dock. That's what we're here for. That was pre-existing. So essentially, when the township came out, they found that obviously there was the permitting issue, But with respect to the actual construction itself, there were no footings, the joists were not properly supported, and it was materially unsafe. So if we go to the next exhibit, which is the plan, thanks, Bob. So this is the plan that my clients received from a structural engineer, Mr. Kenneth Justice. Essentially, they asked Mr. Justice to take a look at the deck and the dock to diagnose the problems and to come up with a plan to essentially repair the deck. And these are the preliminary plans which show that we may have to fully replace the deck, demolish it and replace it with a new deck. We've already obtained Dan Miles, a local deck contractor, to perform the work, got estimates, we're ready to go. However, we've also asked Mr. Justice to take a closer look to see if there's any way to salvage the existing deck in whole or in part. So essentially, what we're asking you this evening is to grant the requested 4 variances with an explicit condition that the applicant provide engineered plans to the satisfaction of the township engineer and the township code officer in order to ensure that the deck is fit for human habitation. That's the request. And I have with me, like I said, Ms. Chen, and I would ask her to come up here for the moment and attest to what I just told the board. So, Ms. Chen?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Hold the mic down a little bit.
All right.
Yes, I do.
And it's Amy, A-M-Y?
Yes.
Amy, do me a favor. Please introduce yourself to the board.
Hi, I'm Amy Chen.
All right. And you're a local realtor?
Yes.
All right.
Well, not really local.
Not local? Oh. Within the general area here. And your parents are the owners of the property, Nancy and Shuhai Chen. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you are familiar with the property? Fair statement?
Yes.
All right. And did you have a chance to listen to everything I told the board a few moments ago?
Yes.
Did you understand everything I said?
Yes.
Do you agree with everything I said?
Yes.
If I asked you to change anything, would you change anything?
No.
All right. Are you willing to adopt my statements to the board as your testimony here this evening?
Yes.
So with that, if the board has any questions, Ms. Chen and myself will be more than happy to address them. And we also have Nancy Chen, the property owner, sitting in the second row as well.
So, if they have to rip up this deck, do you still need all these variances? Or are they gonna build the same structure?
I should have confirmed, we are building the exact same thing. The plan here, if we go, I think it's page 3 or 4. Yeah, if you look at that, that's the same exact footprint as the existing deck. And to be blunt, what we asked Mr. Justice as our engineer was to do his best to try to save the existing deck. We don't want to tear it up if we do not have to.
So, why? Why does it have to be, if it has to be torn up, why does it have to be the same exact size of the one that's there now?
So the one that's there now, it backs up fully to the home. It more or less, the way it's structured, the way it's laid out, it fits the home. It fits other area homes in terms of the community. Most homes have decks. Most homes have docks in that particular area. I don't want to say most, but a good portion of them. And with this particular home, if you look at the rear of the property and the way that the home is actually oriented on the lot, there's not really a whole lot of backyard there. The deck itself, it measures approximately 250 square feet, so it's not the world's largest deck. So in terms of the actual style of the deck and the layout of the deck, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a reason why the prior owner did that. It's just he obviously cut corners in terms of, actually building the deck.
But you know what I'm trying to get at here, right? Like, it's if it has to be ripped down, it's not necessary to really build it.
If it has to be...
Right, if it has to be ripped down, it's really not necessary to build that deck that size. It's just, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't have to be as big as the one that's there.
So I guess what I would say to that is, if it has to be ripped down completely, then obviously we would be back in front of you for another variance to build a separate deck. But like I said, at this particular moment, we are optimistic that we can salvage at least part of the deck, but I don't know the exact portions that would have to be removed, the exact portions that would stay.
So what's the time frame on finding out when this thing is, can be ripped, has to be ripped down or doesn't have to be ripped down?
If you know.
So I would like to get it done as soon as possible because summer is coming and we want to enjoy the backyard. But our structural engineer, he has been going through some problems. His father passed away. So we're kind of depending on him and his timeline.
So if I may, during this process, the notice of violation was issued quite a while ago. And the township has been kind enough to allow us time to address this. Unfortunately, our professional did have some personal family issues, which has delayed things. However, being as it is a notice of violation proceeding, we wanted to try to come before you as soon as
Yeah,
possible.
we realize that. We've been continuing this for several months now, so. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Bob, the rest of the house, were all the permits pulled on rebuilding that house?
From what we saw in the rental inspection, yeah.
Okay.
We got 'em up to code.
I did look at it, but I didn't want to walk on your property. I know your driveway is super steep all the way back to the creek. Now, the deck you have in the back, is your backyard also steep? Is that why you have the deck to be flat? That'd be a question to the owner.
The backyard, which part?
The back of the house to the water, is that steep also? Is that why you have the deck to make it flat?
Well, right now it's flat, but I would assume that without the deck, it would just be a continuous slope into
Yeah,
the
so
water.
there's a slope and the deck will kind of keep it safer.
Oh, right, yes.
Because I seen down your whole driveway, but I didn't want to walk on your property.
Yes, it's pretty steep. It
Yeah,
goes
oh
like
yeah.
this.
Make sure your car's in park. It'll be in the creek.
How wide is the house? In other words,
Thank you.
how wide is the deck?
The deck is the deck is approximately 50 feet wide.
Wide? I mean, that's the back of the house, right? The length of the back of the house.
25 foot wide,
That-
it says?
25 feet wide. I was going to say 50, didn't sound right when I said
Yeah,
it.
because then you wouldn't have a problem with the,
50,
with the setbacks. I
Just
mean,
to
if you ripped it
clarify,
down
I
and,
think because of the rear yard setback, any deck they put back there, no matter of size, they'll still need a variance for.
Yeah,
right, question is how much?
yeah. The side yard would be the one that would change. The rear yard we would need no matter what. That is accurate.
What about the impervious?
The impervious, I don't have the exact numbers. We would need an impervious variance, I believe, no matter what we do, because the existing home with the existing driveway appears to be in excess of the allowable 35%. So no matter what changes they would make.
They're currently at 44.1 and they're
Right.
allowed 35.
And again, that's one of the issues that you run into with a lot of these properties, which are relatively small lots. This one's about 6,000 square feet, give or take. So,
Anybody else have any questions? Anything else to add, Bob? Anybody from the audience like to come up for or against this project? Okay, I need a motion.
I'll put a motion for it.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Call the board.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Gerard Lycon,
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes. Good luck.
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem. I'll give you guys a call tomorrow. We can go over the details of what to do.
And now there was,
Basically, you can start with the current process, but talk to the attorney first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you a call, all right? Congrats.
Need a break? Anybody else need a break? We're gonna take a 5-minute break until the next application. Yes, I do.
You're up. Yeah, yeah.
Good? Everybody ready? Ready? All right, let's get back to it. I know everybody's here for this, so let's get it started real quick before we get started. Listen, let them present their application. No blurting out, no derogatory remarks, please. If you, do so, I will ask you to leave. Okay.
Good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin, back again. Tonight I have the pleasure of representing Larry Fulford. Larry is under contract to purchase 4 vacant lots at the corner of what would be Broadway Avenue and Melrose Street. In what's perhaps the understatement of the evening, I know there's some community interest in this project. And I obviously do understand there are quite a few people in the room right now. And there are many people who live in this neighborhood or live nearby and who are obviously take a great deal of interest in their community. And that's why they're taking their evening to be with us tonight. So I'm going to do my very best to answer as many questions as I can within my presentation, but obviously my client and I will be here after we're concluded to try to address as many questions or any issues that any of the neighbors here have with the project. So very first thing to try to orient everyone, because there's a lot of unknowns in this project, and I'm specifically related to what the neighbors and the residences know about us and this property. So I'm going to try to address the first one, which I think a lot of people have. Bob, could you do me a favor and go to the parcel viewer? So the property, we don't actually have an address. Where is this property? Okay, so there are 4 vacant parcels. If you look here, the property or the picture that I have up there, it's from the Bucks County Parcel Viewer. It's the county website. And what you have here, I circled it in orange, and I'm tracing that on the center of the image right here. That's the property at issue. Now, if you look, it's kind of tough to see, I understand. You have, obviously, the Bristol Gardens apartment complex to the far right of the picture. You have 95, the access point, right to the top. And then we have our property. Now, technically speaking, this property actually doesn't front a road right now. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. You see here, a Broadway Ave somewhat stops right at the edge of this other vacant parcel, which we don't own. So the plan would be to extend this up to provide access to our site. I know there's a lot of people out there who probably don't know what Melrose Street is and have never heard of Melrose Street. You lived in the neighborhood for a long time and you're sitting there going, I don't remember ever seeing a Melrose Street sign. That's okay, you're not crazy. So Melrose Street is what we call a paper street because it only exists on paper. It is literally right through here. I'm tracing it down. That is technically Melrose Street. It exists on the township map, but it was never built. So as part of this, just want to let everybody know, we're not going to build that. We are not putting any street right there. We don't want to put a street behind people's houses or anything like that. You know, if somebody else were to come in here and say, hey, there's 4 residential parcels, let's put houses in there, let's put a road in, that's a different issue. We're not doing that. But generally speaking, that's where the property is. That's what we're here for today. Total, it's about 1.5 acres. It's zoned in the R1 residential district. And as I mentioned, it's kind of got a peculiar little location in that it backs up to the Bristol Gardens apartment complex, to Interstate 95, and it's located on, or sits on 2 technically non-existent streets. So that's the wonderful piece of property that we're here for. And that's actually probably one of the reasons why we're here. That is one of the reasons, because it is such a unique parcel. You know, you're looking at it going, all right, if somebody wanted to put houses there, that would be potentially an issue with actually building a street through what people think might be their backyards. So instead, I have here my client, Larry Fulford, who is Bristol Township resident, has a Bristol Township business called Elements Landscaping, and the plan here today, and what we're here today to request, is relief so that Larry can move his Bristol Township business and stay in Bristol Township here at this property. And like I said, I know that there's probably some concern, some questions, because look, let's all be honest. If I were in your shoes and I lived in the neighborhood and I got a notice, or I heard about a notice that, wait a minute, there's a contractor who wants to move into my neighborhood, I'd have all these thoughts in my head as to what's gonna be there. You know, is it gonna be a large building there? Is it gonna be guys coming and going, construction equipment and loud noises, smoke, fumes, whatever? That's what I'd be worried about. And I'm happy to say that you wouldn't get any of that with us. And that's one of the reasons why we are proposing this right now. If we thought it would be bad for the community, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be asking you to spend your night with us. So let me explain a little bit about this project and about Larry's business before I call Larry up here to provide some extra detail. So Larry is the owner of Elements Landscaping. Elements has been around for 16 years. This is their 17th season. They generally do landscaping, hardscaping, and lawn care work for local businesses, homeowners associations, like townhome communities, as well as local residences too. It's a small business, about 12 employees, give or take, depending on the season, depending on temporary employees, but it's about 12 employees. And essentially what this property would serve as is it would basically be a yard for Larry's business. There won't be an office building, won't be any actual buildings whatsoever on this site, except for maybe a couple storage sheds that he's going to move over from his existing business. There won't be anyone actually working there during the day. No 9-to-5 employees, no actual work done at the property. All right. Essentially, what you would have here at this site, if it's approved, is you would have Larry's 12 employees or so. They would come in the morning, drop off their vehicles, pick up a work truck and some materials from the site, head out all day. They'd go cut people's lawns, install patios, come back around 4 o'clock or so, and the exact opposite would happen. For the 8 hours during the day, nothing going on the property. After they come back, for that 20 minutes or so, after that, nothing going on the property until the next day. And as you'll hear from Larry, some of his employees carpool because they're family members. So you only have maybe 5 or 6 vehicles coming in the morning, and then when the guys go out, as you know from any landscaping crew you see, there's 3 or 4 guys in a particular truck heading out. So there's only going to be a couple vehicles coming and going.
Jesus, sorry.
So there's going to be only a few vehicles coming and going. This is not the type of business that you would see, you would hear, you would smell, or even that, again, you would see really coming through your streets. That's one of the reasons why we think this would be a good fit for the site. So how would this look actually on the property? Well, Bob, if you can, switch to the plan for me. All right, so if you look, it's kind of tough to see. So I'm going to trace it with my little red pen here so you can follow along. So this property here, shows our general property in red. Actually, Bob, could you increase that for me, the size? No, I appreciate it, thank you. All right, so if you look, I'm going to trace the area of the property. It's right through here. That is the property at issue, all right? Bristol Gardens is over here on the right. The 95 access point obviously is up top, and these are our lots. So what are you actually going to see? You know, if this is approved and if we move in and become your neighbor, what are you going to see? So generally speaking, we're only going to use 150 square or 150 feet by approximately 150 feet. That's really the area at issue. The property itself is about 360 feet long. We're going to use less than half of that. We are essentially just going to gravel over this square. So that's going to be Larry's yard. There's going to be a fence around the edges, and there's going to be green giant arborvitaes all around the fence too. So that way, again, we're only going to be using about 150 by 150, and that's going to keep it 150 by 150 because there's going to be fence and giant trees all around. So within a couple of years, you will not see anything whatsoever. And like I said, during the day, nothing whatsoever. In the morning, a couple people come in, get their vehicles, come on out, crickets for 8 hours, and then at the end of the day, it's the exact opposite. And Larry will tell you. And this is an existing business, so this isn't something hypothetical. This isn't something where we're sitting here going, this is what we think is going to happen. This is what we anticipate. We know because it's been existing for how many years, and he'll tell you. So anyhow, the actual business on the property won't be something that you will really notice at all, and it's going to be the type of thing that also provides an added benefit of the fact that right now, this property, it's obviously been neglected. We know that it's a wooded lot, but there's a lot of trash, graffiti, litter all around, and so as part of this, and as any, I would hope, reputable landscaper would do, Larry's going to keep it clean. He's going to be a good neighbor, and it's going to be the type of neighbor that we think the community can be proud of. So that's the goal. That's generally how it's going to work on the property, and we think it's the type of business that, especially when you consider that these properties are right next to, behind the apartment complex, right next to 95, and they're sitting there on those paper streets, that we think this is the type of thing that actually works on this property, even if it's something where if you get a piece of paper and look at it, it doesn't quite feel like that on first blush. So with that, I have Larry Fulford with me tonight, and I know that Larry is interested in coming up here and addressing the neighbors and addressing the board to provide some more information as to the actual, his business, how it's been running, show you some pictures, and to show you what he thinks he's going to do with the property. And then once we're done, we're going to come back here and we're going to ask the board to grant the relief that we requested in our application, which consists of a variance to allow this contracting / storage use on the property, together with variances related to impervious surface, being as we technically need those because we're providing all the buffers that are required by the township here, but when you satisfy the buffer, that takes away part of the net site area, so because of that, our impervious is high. But otherwise, unless there's any preliminary questions, I'd like to introduce Larry Fulford to come up here and provide some testimony. Larry.
Hi. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Larry, do me a favor, introduce yourself to the board.
Larry Fulford, Elements Lawn and Landscape.
So, Larry, you're the owner of Elements Lawn and Landscaping, is that correct?
Correct.
How long?
16 years. This is 17th season. 17th season.
That's a Bristol Township business?
Yes.
For the entire 16 years?
Yes.
All right, and you live in Bristol Township too, is that right?
Yes.
All right. And we're here today because you're moving your business, is that right?
Correct.
It's because you want to move your business?
I have to move my business.
Why?
Because the guy I ran off of, my landlord, is building a building on the property that I'm currently occupying.
Gotcha. So when you found that out, obviously you live in Bristol Township, you have your business based in Bristol Township, so you want to stay in Bristol Township. Is that fair enough?
Correct.
All right. And how'd you find these properties?
Went online, started looking.
So those were advertised on?
Yep. Yeah, they're advertised, yeah.
So you had a conversation with the owner and you thought, hey, maybe this might work. Is that right?
Well, my realtor did, yes.
So what drew you to this property here? Why did you think this? Because, I mean, let's be honest, it's a residentially zoned property.
Correct.
You see all your neighbors around here, your potential neighbors.
Potential.
So what drew you to this property? Why?
Just where it's located, and I just figured it would be a good spot for me to put my equipment.
And you think this is your business would be a good fit for this property, is that
feel-
right?
I feel it would be, yes.
All right, and you think it'll be a good fit for the community?
I feel it'd be minimal impact. That's
Right.
what I feel.
And if you didn't think this would be a good fit, would you be here tonight?
No, I wouldn't.
All right, you wouldn't be wasting your time, right?
No.
All right, you wouldn't be wasting all these people's time.
No, I wouldn't.
So,
And I know they don't know me, but I'm not about wasting time, so.
so let's talk about this a little bit. You heard all the statements I made to the board, is that right?
Yes.
All right, you understood them all?
Yep.
You agreed with them all?
Yep.
Or you could change anything, would you change anything?
No.
Would you be willing to adopt those statements as a portion of your testimony here tonight?
Yes.
All right, so with that, let's talk about your business a little bit. About how many employees do you have?
12.
All right. Is that a hard number, does it change?
It's a hard number. Usually it might go up 3, might go down a few, but
Depending on the season,
depending on
sort
the
of thing?
season and, yeah, attrition,
And
yes.
do me a favor, try to wait until I'm done talking before you answer, because you're gonna make the court reporter's head explode.
Problem.
All right? All right. So you're under contract to purchase this property, is that right?
Correct.
And if you receive certain approvals, you would like to move Elements Lawn and Landscape to that property, is that right?
Correct.
So let's talk about that. You said 12 employees. How many are going to be working there 9 to 5?
None. 0.
How many are going to be working there, consistently, whether it's on any given day, 7 to 7, 12 to 6?
None. They come in the morning, and they leave, and then they come back around. They work 8 hours a day usually, so they're usually back between 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30 at the latest, usually.
Do they do any work on your property?
No.
So they don't do anything there in terms of any getting like hardscaping, any, you know, any landscaping work
No,
they
not at the
could do,
property, no.
right?
No, we take everything to the job site.
So essentially, let's, another thing, would it be open to the public or no?
No,
Do you have people driving by asking for business or anything like that?
no.
Not that type of operation, right? Alright. And so you mentioned that all the work generally happens in the field, is that correct?
Correct.
Customers' houses?
Houses, communities that I take care of, the businesses I take care of, yes.
So what do you envision for this, for this site here, this property? If you receive approval and you move in, what would all of these neighbors expect to see when they drive by? What's gonna happen there?
Well, they're really not gonna see much because there's gonna be an 80-foot buffer in there. With the woods that are there already, with the Melrose Street, which is 50 feet, I'm pretty sure. Then with the way we have to do our engineering and everything, we have to have a 30-foot buffer before we get to the property. And then, once we get to there, it's gonna be fenced in with a black chain link fence, and then it's gonna have green giant arborvitae's going all the way around the whole community, around the whole property. So you won't see it back there.
So
The green giants, whether everybody's familiar with them, they grow about 25 feet tall, about 12 feet wide. So it'll basically encase that whole thing, you won't see it in a couple of years.
So what's gonna happen on the property?
There's gonna be storage.
That's
Gonna be
it?
Storage for my equipment,
That's it?
yeah.
You
Yes.
putting an office building there?
No,
Where's your office?
my garage at my house,
So, like you said, this is just gonna be storage, is that right?
yes.
Of what? What are you gonna put there?
The 5 trucks that I have, the trailers, enclosed trailers, and there's one, utility trailer, and then, that's all really it is, and that's it.
So you got 5 trucks, you said?
Yep,
With some trailers?
yep.
And with some other, maybe additional equipment or materials?
Yeah, there's skid loader, a couple skid loaders, which are, like Bobcats, if you guys know what that is.
So
Skid steers.
So you said you only have 5 trucks. Now,
That stay on site, yes.
yeah, of course. So about any given day, like what type of traffic is gonna come in and out because of this business?
Well, the guys come in usually, like you said, they carpool, because they're our family members, and, they have about four to 5 vehicles, their cars come in. Then they jump in the trucks and they leave, and usually on any given day, it's either gonna be 3 trucks or 4 trucks will leave with trailers and perform the work and then come back at the end of the day.
So basically, you got 4 or 5 average old cars coming in the morning, is that right?
Correct.
About what time?
7:30, 7 o'clock.
About 7:30, 4 or 5 cars come in. Then they're on site. What are they doing on site when they get there?
They just punch in, get their stuff together, jump in the trucks, head out.
And then that takes how long, give or take?
20 minutes.
So then they leave between 7:30 and 8, and about how many trucks leave?
Between 3 and 4, depending on what we're doing that day.
Because they travel together?
Although they leave within 5 minutes of each other usually.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is for those trucks, how many guys per truck when they go out?
Okay, roughly three to four guys per truck.
So that's why you only have a couple trucks, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then what happens at the property from, let's say, 8 a.m. until 4 or so p.m.?
Usually nothing unless I'll show up there and just check things out and then leave. That's it, but we don't do any work there, no.
All right. So then late afternoon, same exact thing happens, just opposite, correct?
Correct.
And again, another 20 minutes or so, and that's about it?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes,
And then other than that, what happens at the property?
it sits. Just, that's it, it's just a storage lot. For
And
the equipment and that's it.
And like I mentioned earlier, this is something that you're not just kind of guessing here. You're not just saying in a pipe dream, this is what you think is going to happen, because it does happen, right?
For the last 16 years, it's been done, yeah, same exact thing over and over, like Groundhog Day, yep.
Well, we have some pictures of your current lot. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we're taking a look at a set of 8 pictures for the record. Larry, do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
What is that?
It's my lot that I keep everything in now.
All right. It just looks like it's a gravel lot. You see some trucks there?
Yes.
And what's there to the left?
What's that?
What do you see to the left? Is that a shed?
That's a shed, yes.
All right, let's go to the next picture. Those, your trailers, I believe you mentioned?
Yes, three of my enclosed trailers, yes.
All right, and what's to the left? Some additional just equipment you got there?
Yeah, that's, my hydro seeder and some wheelbarrows.
So let's go to the next picture. Again, different angle of the same trailers, is that right?
Yeah, that's another enclosed trailer than my utility trailer.
All right, what's the next picture? And again, some of your other equipment, that Bobcat you mentioned, is that right?
One skid steer there, there's three skid steers, and then there's, my snow plows.
And next one?
That's one of the trucks, and then that's the larger office shed that we have that the guys come in and they punch in.
So would that shed, along with the other sheds, would come to the new property?
Yes,
All right, but that's you're not proposing you're going to build an office or anything like that, correct?
no,
All right, next picture. All right. And again, we're talking same thing before, except you see one of your trucks now. Is that right?
correct,
All right, next one. And are those the trucks you mentioned before?
yes.
Now, what type of trucks are those?
They're, those ones are 5500 Ram, dump trucks, and the one's a Ford F-550. And the one that's over there, you can barely see the thing there, it's just a 2500 pickup.
All right. And you don't have anything bigger than that, really?
No,
All right. Next picture. And are those the two sheds that were the very first picture we saw to the left?
yes,
Together, is this your business?
that's it,
So essentially, if you receive this relief and you're able to move to the property right here that we're here for tonight, your plan is just to basically move what's on that current lot. You seen those pictures to this other to this new lot?
correct,
And what you're going to do is you're going to install some gravel, and you're going to fence it, and you're going to tree line it, and that's what the plan is.
correct,
And then, basically, in terms of traffic coming and going, it's what you described a few moments ago in terms of employees coming in the morning, coming back in the evening, and that's it.
correct,
And you heard what I said to the board earlier, that in terms of what you're proposing for this site, you're only going to use about 150 by 150 feet of the property, correct?
about, 23,500 square feet, which is a little, about half an acre out of the 1.5 acres. The rest of the property is just gonna stay natural.
All right, so why don't we switch to the plan, Bob, if you can? Thanks, appreciate it. So this is the plan that obviously I mentioned before and we're going through today. This is your plan for the property, is that right?
Correct,
And that's the 150 by 150 foot area we're talking about, correct?
correct,
And that area, that's the part of your property that's closest to Interstate 95, is that right?
yes,
All right. And that area, that's kind of the whited out area, that's the gravel area we're talking about?
yes,
Outside of that, you're doing the fence, and then you're doing some evergreens, is that right?
correct.
Anything else? Are you gonna do anything else to any part of your other property, maybe apart from just extending that gravel drive up there?
That's it. No, that'll be it.
And then obviously in the future, hey, whether eventually comes a day where you retire and maybe another landscaper were to come in or whatnot, again, any conditions that are attached to your project today would apply moving forward, is that right?
Correct,
And also, the fact that this is gonna be fenced in and there's gonna be a tree line too, it's not exactly like that'll be able to be expanded in the future, correct?
be a little difficult, yes,
Yeah. So, and that's part of the point, correct?
correct.
Because, look, as you mentioned,
I don't wanna.
these neighbors here, they
Yeah,
don't know you, right?
right,
And, even though I know you and I trust you, they can't just rely on your word because they don't know you, correct?
correct,
And in fact, as part of this application, there's a couple of other things that we haven't talked about yet, which is first, that you would ask this board to impose certain conditions on your business in order to protect this community, is that right?
correct,
Which includes no employees working on-site 9 to 5 or any other regular hours, correct?
correct,
You would also ask for a condition that no actual contracting work is done on this property, correct?
correct,
All right. You will also ask that this be conditioned on exactly you fencing in this property, you tree lining this property, and an inability to expand any impervious surfaces in the future. So just in case, if somebody else were to come in years or decades from now, they can't expand past this, correct?
correct,
All right. And you're also not asking for this property to become a commercial property. It will stay zoned residential, is that right?
Correct.
So that in the future, yes, if somebody wanted to come in and operate same business as yours, they could do it. But if they wanted to do anything else, anything, any other commercial use, any other contracting use, any other storage use, they have to come back before this board and give notice to these neighbors. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, I want to confirm a couple other things too, because obviously access is kind of a little odd here in that Melrose Street doesn't really exist, and these properties are supposed to front Melrose Street. Is that right?
Yes.
You don't have any plans as part of any of this project to build Melrose Street. Is that right?
No.
You are not going to do anything to the other side where there's apparently some stormwater concerns. You're not going to go down to the other end of what would be Melrose Street or do anything remotely in that area, correct?
No, that's owned by the apartments anyway.
Not you.
Not me.
And in terms of this property, obviously, you said you found it online. Is that right?
Yes.
It was publicly advertised?
Yes.
So if you don't move there, then these owners of this property are probably going to sell it to somebody else. Is that right?
Correct.
And those are 4 separate residential lots. Is that correct?
Yes.
So technically, a developer could purchase those lots and potentially build a portion of that Melrose Street. Is that right?
True. Yes.
And that's not something that you're obviously proposing here, correct?
No, not at all.
And that's something that, again, you don't think would be good for the neighborhood if that happened because, again, some of these fine folks would have a driveway essentially going through their backyards, and you're not doing that, right?
No. I'm trying to keep it as natural as it can be and still be able to have my business.
So, generally speaking, when people would look and see your business years from now, they're just going to see a tree-lined, nicely maintained area. Is that right?
Correct.
And
the
good.
trash will be cleaned up because there's a boatload of trash back there and it'll always be clean, so.
And obviously, you'll be monitoring it to make sure, correct?
Correct.
And also, this process we're here for tonight, this is not where this would end, correct?
Correct.
Like, if you're approved tonight, there's going to be a rather expansive and large process you're going to have to go through moving forward, right?
Yes.
And that's called land development, correct?
Correct.
And you understand that during land development, you would have to get a team of engineers to design plans so that you can present to the township to ensure that there are no traffic issues, there are no stormwater issues, there's no environmental concerns, correct?
Correct.
And you're prepared to do that.
Correct.
And when you go through, there's going to be at least 2 other hearings where all of these fine folks will get notice. Is that right?
Correct.
And obviously, you want to do that because A, you're committed to being a good neighbor, but B, again, you understand that that's a chance for the township to make sure that we are accountable and we do what we say we're going to do. Is that right?
Correct.
And you know that as we go through the process, if the township were to suggest any changes, you would make those changes. Is that right?
Yes.
And even tonight, we're here, the board is going to ask you some questions, I'm sure, and obviously there's, from what I can tell, a few people in the audience. And if anyone here has any questions for you, you're going to do your best to answer those questions. Is that right?
Right.
If anyone has any suggestions, you would be happy to take those suggestions into account. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, is that why you went around to all of your adjoining neighbors about, how many houses did you visit?
12.
Sorry, you gotta speak.
12 houses.
And you talked to some of your neighbors, correct? You explained who you were?
Yes.
Explain what you're trying to do, is that right?
Correct.
And that's why you also offered to have a meeting with the neighbors basically before tonight to try to see what concerns there were, to try to see what questions there were and try to answer those. Is that right?
Yes.
And you did all of that because, again, you're trying to be a good neighbor and you also understand that there are a lot of questions. There is a lot of interest in this, right?
Yes.
And obviously, you're more than interested, more than happy to talk to some of your neighbors tonight. And any questions that anyone has, you'll listen to those and see what we can do to provide some answers. Is that correct?
Yes.
As you sit here, is there any reason why this project, why your business would be detrimental to this community?
Not that I can think of.
Any reason you can think of why this would be bad for Bristol Township?
Nope.
Any reason why this would be bad for any of those adjoining properties to yours?
No.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Larry. I appreciate it. And obviously, I understand there may be some questions from the board, and we also would like to reserve some time because I know that there's going to be some public comment here, and we just want the chance to be able to respond to some of these concerns that we hear tonight. Thank you.
Anybody from the board have any questions?
I do.
Okay, Gerard.
I did stop out and check out Larry's property over in the industrial park where he's at now. It is clean, it is organized, he's never there, because I've never seen him there. It's always locked during the work hours. I walked this property, it's a disaster. There's graffiti all over the wall for the 95. He said he's gonna clean it, I hope he does, because I was here at the town meeting and listened to what he said. Lot of extra shingles, garbage, all that stuff there, you're gonna clean all that up? Is that true?
Yes,
All the graffiti on that wall, you're gonna take care of that?
yes.
Okay. I did stop by your house just to make sure your yard looks good. I got your address off of the things. I went up and looked because I like to check things out. This place is spotless, you know, I like landscaping.
Yep.
I don't know Larry from nowhere, but I know he cuts my neighbor's yard, Rob's Automotive, and they blow grass on my property when they do, and they always keep it clean. I never had to say anything. And I walked my block very often. I walk all the way around the block for exercise. Rob's property is spotless. Everybody else's is a mess. And they sweep the street, they etch the sidewalk, they trim the branches. I don't have to duck nowhere on that property, so he does do a nice job. Like I said, I don't know Larry from anywhere, except I know his trucks are Element. And when I seen this, I put it together, and that's who he is. So that's all I gotta say. I just wanna make sure you're gonna clean that up.
Yes.
Okay.
The storing of material on the site, is gonna be any material stored there?
There will be, we do hardscaping, so there will be probably a load of three-quarter modified there, some clean stone for doing walls, but just one, like 20 ton of it, not like stockpiles, a 20 ton, which is basically a triaxle load. And I usually get, most of my mulch and everything gets delivered to the job sites because we do 500 yards, 400 yards, at a time. So the company I buy off of, Victory Gardens, they deliver it with a walking floor trailer right to the job. So, but I will have, now there might end up being maybe a triaxle load full of mulch there too for smaller jobs. So it's more cost effective for me to do it that way than it is for me to run to another storage place and grab it. That's all.
So the loading of the modified into a dump truck would be done
on site.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So the place you're at now, existing place, is not in a residential area? It's
No, it's an heavy industrial, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Oh, no, hold on. We'll get to you. I promise we'll get to you. Okay. Is that all you have?
That's all we have. What I would also like to say is Larry's current landlord is actually in attendance tonight, so if anyone does have questions regarding how he keeps his current facility and whether it's something you think would be compatible with your neighborhood, we do have someone here who knows and has been involved in that for the past 16 years. But otherwise, that's our project, and now we're looking forward to hearing everyone's feedback. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bob, anything to add? Okay, this comes my favorite part of the evening. All right, so let's try to do this, in an orderly fashion. And so if one of your neighbors comes up and has the same question as you have, and it doesn't, okay, and if it's not answered the way you want it to be answered, then please come on up. But the redundancy of questions is just gonna prolong this into the wee hours of the evening. And I don't think anybody here wants that. So if you have a question that your neighbor already asked, maybe refrain from asking that question. You can come up and ask a different question. But if you didn't get that answer that you thought you wanted, then feel free to ask. How's that sound? All right? All right, let's get it started. Ma'am, come on up. Oh, I'm sorry. You can,
Me?
yeah. You'll be next, okay?
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Can you state your name, please, and spell it?
Pamela Cunius, Cuninnus.
What's the first name?
Pamela.
Can you state your address for the record, please?
My address is 1313 Woodbine Avenue, Bristol, PA, 19007. Yeah, not even living in the area, thinking this was gonna be built next to my home, and working alone, knowing that my fiance used to work in the mulching business and delivering it. The smell for you having mulch at your place of residence with these people living around it, you loading the machines and saying that your employees won't be working on the site and dumping it. These people have to live with hearing the machines, lifting it, dumping it, and just the dust all around. That's nobody not working at the property. That's not people coming to the property and then getting in their trucks and leaving. You just said that you weren't storing anything there. They were coming in, getting in their vehicles, clocking in and leaving. But then you're just saying that people aren't gonna be working there. That's people working on site. And then if your machines break down, where are you working on them at?
Someone comes and gets them and takes them away.
But then, are people not working on site then if you're dropping mulch that you have extra at your place?
No, I'm sorry. No, we're not dropping extra mulch at the place. What it is that to do a job efficiently sometimes, smaller jobs, meaning like most of my stuff is larger jobs. Like I was saying, was like 500 yards to 400 yards. That's a lot of mulch. I mean, if your husband worked in,
Yeah,
who did he work?
dropping 70 ton, I understand that, but even when you're dropping just a little bit of mulch, it still sits.
Well,
And it has,
Okay,
it
I'm
has
sorry.
cow manure and it's mixed with horse manure. It's all mixed.
Well,
And
our
when that
mulch
stuff
doesn't
sits
have-
during the summer, it stinks. Even when we buy little bulk bags at Home Depot and we spread it in our yards and it's only little pieces, when you start building that up and you're coming from one job, then you're coming from two jobs, it does build up. And it smells. And these people aren't that far from your place of business. And I could understand they're concerned. Because if it was near my home, I'd be here every day at the township. I wouldn't want to live next to that.
Right. I don't know what type of mulch your husband, I don't know anything with manure or anything like that in it.
Where would you get your deliveries from?
One at a time, please.
Yeah.
I can't take down two people.
Go ahead.
Like, where would you get your deliveries from when you come back from your job sites, where you're still dropping it? And it's not one job you're doing a job every day, and you're
No,
still
no.
bringing the stuff back. You said it yourself.
No, I didn't.
You said you're dropping the extra stuff from your job sites at your place
All right,
when you
Ben,
have
what's-
overage.
Ben, what's your question? Exactly.
That's
your
my
exact-
question. When
exact
you're bringing the
question.
stuff back and it's sitting there, how would you protect your people that live next to you from the odors and the dust and everything?
All I said, I did not say I was bringing the extra mulch back. I said that every now and then there might be a truck that drops a load of mulch, okay? But I don't know, our mulch is not mixed with manure and horse manure and all, it's not. I mean,
It's not just wood chips.
the people where I buy it off of Victory Gardens, and it's basically recycled material. It
Okay,
is.
Is that your only question?
That would be my only
Okay.
question.
All right, thank you. You're next, ma'am. I'll get to you.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you state your name and spell it, please?
Cheryl, Sheryl, Abrams, Abrams.
Can you state your address for the record, please?
3110 Fairway Avenue, Bristol, Pennsylvania, 19007. Okay. First, let me say this. As a completely subjective statement, let me take my mask off. The pictures you showed, that place is hideous. It's ugly. There's no getting around it. What you're proposing to put in the neighborhood is unattractive, and you can put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. You can put trees all around it, it's still a yard where you're storing things. That's my first subjective statement. Secondarily, the statement that you made is your name Bryce? Is that Bryce? Is that there would be no detriment to the neighborhood. Tell me how it would enhance the neighborhood. That's my question to you. That was your statement, I believe it in the record, that it would be no detriment.
Of course. So, like I said, I don't live in your neighborhood. I know that. And
would you like this in your neighborhood? Let me ask you a question.
Ma'am, let him answer the question.
So
Okay.
I'll answer both.
Okay.
If this were any business like this, where if I got a notice this is coming in my neighborhood, I'd be here. Okay.
Okay.
I'd be here.
Okay.
You get the way the law works, you get like a one-page little one-sentence thing saying contractor storage, and you have no idea what it means, and the only thing you know is I live in a neighborhood, and that's not something that should be in my neighborhood. And I understand that completely, and that's why we're all here. So to answer your question, in my opinion, as somebody who is familiar with this business, this is the type of business that I do believe would fit well here and would not be a detriment for a couple reasons. First, I know we just heard about potential concerns with odor or mulch or whatnot. You know, with respect to this business, most of the lawn care, most of the mulch and whatnot, that's delivered straight to the client's business. Most of what Larry does is townhome associations and business and larger businesses. So that's not going to sit on the lot. So the only type of things that might be sitting there might be a very small batch on a lot that's 1.5 acres, and that sits approximately 80 to 100 feet away from any
But you're not
nearest
answering
property line.
my question to you
I'm
was
going to get there.
how it enhances it.
I'm an attorney. I get paid by the
I
word,
know
so I
that you do.
apologize.
Right.
No. So what I'm saying here is I think so many people look at this and go, let's compare it to what's there now. Because what there's now,
It's nothing.
it's nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's probably, I haven't been backed into the property from what I understand. It's pretty dirty. There's some,
I've been back there. so
yeah,
I
there's
know
litter
what
and
goes
some
on.
other stuff there, which is not really negatively impacting anyone on a day-to-day basis apart from being ugly. But what most people are looking at is what's better, that or this. And I think people would prefer having nothing there. But the question is, that's not the tool to compare this, because these properties are publicly for sale. And if this doesn't happen, someone's going to see this proceeding and go, hey, I'm not going to mess with anything else. There's going to be single family. So you're going to get a developer who's going to try to put in at least 4 homes there and likely develop that road. And for most neighbors, they might be okay with that. But I think the ones right there, who all of a sudden have a road in their backyard that's currently just woodlands, I think they would have a big problem with it. So when we're talking about, all right, is this going to be a noxious use? No. Is this an ideal use of that property? I'm not sure there's any ideal use for that property when you look at what's surrounding it and when you look at the fact that you're gonna have to put a giant road in there for anything else. So in my opinion, as a land use attorney and obviously not a neighbor, this is the type of use that most of people will not know is there. It's the type of use that will not be detrimental. You're not going to see it, you're not going to hear it, you're not going to smell it. It's just going to be there, and Larry's going to make it look nice. Whereas if you have 4 or 5 houses there with a road, I think a lot of the people who live right in front of that would be displeased with looking out their backyard, what now is nature and natural, to what could be a road and houses. So that's my answer to that question. I know it's rather long-winded. I will do my best to keep it less long-winded.
I think the secondary issue also is the trucks. These are pictures from Mr. Fulford's website. This looks like pretty big equipment to me, not small equipment. And it's going to be coming in times where, and this is you, I believe, in this picture, with a big giant tree. And it being, well,
That's not my business.
well, it is because it says it.
No, that's not me.
Well, it's got your name, your address on it.
Hang on.
Speaking of myself.
Hang on.
For tree care and grading.
That comes on your website?
I don't have a website anymore.
Or when you, this is what pops up when
Well,
you.
this isn't me.
Okay,
It's not, though. It's not me at all.
okay. Well, then you should
This
take
is,
care of that.
no, it says South, I'm sorry, it says South Fork Tree and Grading.
It says elements.
No, it's-
When you Google it, this is what came up.
So hang on.
Okay.
To clarify, we are not a tree removal service, and Larry doesn't maintain a website anymore. That's not how he gets his business. It's kind of word of mouth. So I'm not sure how this happened, but maybe you should look into it.
Yeah, I should.
We don't do that sort of work.
The next issue I want to say is I'm speaking on behalf of my mother, who has lived at the residence that I told you for 52 years. In the time she has lived there, there is a section of, she was the last house on the street. There was also forest there, or trees, or whatever you want to call them. And there was 25 houses built there. Then there was housing built, that's several-story housing, 55 and older. And then subsequent to that, there is another section which is right near where Mr. Fulford wants to build his property that also was built there. For 50 years, my mother had no flooding. This is a picture of 2019. This is a sinkhole in our backyard. This is what it looked like when it rained in the backyard. This is the front. This is very, very close to the property that he wants to build on. This is Steel Avenue going up to Rockview Drive. Fast forward to 2021, and this is our backyard in 2021. And this is the river that runs down our grass when it rains. You stated that impervious surfaces was something that you were going to put a lot of. That's kind of what your statement was. I think that that's a major issue in terms of flooding in the area. Because there's been no new drainage or sewage systems put there. So I think that that is a major problem. Can you address that?
So with respect to the impervious surface, so the way the ordinance works is you're allowed a certain percentage, obviously. Now, the reason why we're asking for it is our percentage is altered because of the fact that we need to provide buffers, because we're technically not a residential use. And the way the ordinance works is you have to provide a 30-foot buffer between our use and any other residential uses. So basically around the property, you can't really see, it's kind of difficult, but there's a yellow line that shows the buffer yards, which we're honoring. But that particular area, that whole area around the property, we can't use that in our calculations for impervious surface. So because of that, our number is artificially higher, whereas our number would be very, very similar to a lot of other area homes. But because of that, it's artificially higher, and that's why we have to ask for that relief. But I agree with you 100% that stormwater is always a concern, especially in areas like this where you have some designated, some existing issues. So as part of this process, we have to go through a whole land development phase after this, where Larry has to get engineered stormwater management plans and ensure that he is capturing every single drop of stormwater that would be coming from his property because of this development. He's got to keep it and control it on the property. And if he can't do that, no matter what relief, if any, is given tonight, he can't pull a single permit.
And can I make a statement about that as well? Obviously, some zoning board as well as some land people in the township also approved the other 3 things that were built in the neighborhood, and they probably went through that, and obviously they said the same thing because they got approval to build their housing, and now it floods. So somebody made a mistake somewhere. You're the board here, you're the zoning board, it's your responsibility to protect us. This man is running a business. It's the United States, we live in a capital society, he has every right to do that, but you are responsible to protect the township against these things that are happening to us. And letting people continue to build there without fixing the drainage is a problem. And I understand that they are looking at the zoning or looking at the area, and FEMA is potentially making this a flood zone. And if that happens, then you can't build there. So, and I looked today on the website, and the information is pending. So they definitely are looking at the area because we had major floods in 2021 and 2019.
And what I would say to that as well is, yeah, I mean, look, no matter what we do on this property, even though 1.5 acres is a decent amount of property, it's still not going to fundamentally change anything in the area in terms of stormwater.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, the only thing we can do is we can ensure that we're not causing any additional problem, and we're trying to contribute to the solution. And a lot of the houses, and I'm sure you can all testify to this, a lot of your houses have been around for quite some time before a lot of these ordinances came into play. So the stormwater management systems that the township is going to mandate we put on this site, they're going to be some of the best in the neighborhood because we have to comply with all these newer ordinances, and it's going to be, like I said, just they hold people's feet to the fire these days because of a lot of those issues that happened in the past. And, you know, even if we're denied here tonight. And a developer comes in and buys these parcels and puts in a house and puts in that little Melrose Street, they'll have to do the same sort of thing. Now, I'm not sure what the tangible difference would be, because they would probably be paving the majority of that roadway, which kind of leads into that area that you were saying gets flooded, right, with steel where that joins up with Rockview.
Horrible flooding.
Yeah, and we're not doing anything around there.
You're very, very close to that.
We are. We're close. 100%. So that's why we have to be responsible. And all I can say is we're committed to doing that, not just because we have to, which we do, but we're committed to doing that because we want to be good neighbors. And we think this is the type of thing that, again, it's not going to single-handedly solve any stormwater concerns, but it's certainly not going to contribute to them.
And then lastly, I think that trucks driving in and out of the neighborhood, whether it's 2 times a day or not, large trucks that do not help the value of the neighborhood. It's equipment, it's bobcats or whatever you call them, that does not help for the value of the neighborhood. We have very high taxes in this neighborhood and the value of the houses are low. This is not going to help that.
It would honestly, and that's, I understand from an outsider perspective, it would be no different than if your neighbor hired a landscaper, they came in to cut the grass. No different than that. In all seriousness, that's the type of trucks we're dealing with.
Our landscapers have little flatbed things. They don't have big trucks.
And that's, I understand.
That drive in and out of the neighborhood,
and
just so you know. My landscaper drives a regular truck when
Okay.
it comes to the house.
Thank you, ma'am. Listen, I just want to make a statement here. Like, we are a volunteer board up here. We put a lot of time and we ask a lot of questions to protect this community. So if for a moment anybody out there thinks that we're not here to protect you guys, you're sadly mistaken, because I know everyone up here is doing it. And we take time out of our own time and our own families to do so. So that's all I had to say. I'm the chairman of this board, and these guys and women up here do a great job. So, who's next? Come on up.
I don't have many questions, but.
You gotta be sworn in. Make sure the green light's on, please.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Can I have your name, please?
Dawn Harris.
D-A-W-N?
Yes.
H-A-R-R-I-S? Can you state your address for the record? Is the microphone on?
3119 Fairway Ave, Bristol, PA. I'm not gonna really ask many questions because all I cared about was the flooding. I had 85 grand of damage and now have loans for the rest of my life because of it. So now that I know it won't be an issue, I say good luck. Right now, it is a cat breeding ground. It looks disgusting, so I'm all for you. That's all I got to say.
Come on up, sir.
Got a quick question.
You gotta be sworn in.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Can you spell your name for me, please?
Okay, Jim Reed, R-E-I-D, well, J-I-M, R-E-I-D. Broadway Avenue.
I'm sorry?
Broadway Avenue. Question I had was looking at your map up there. We keep mentioning Melrose.
Yep, Melrose, correct.
Could we mention another street in there maybe so I could correlate with where that's at?
So
how about Mile?
Here.
In
Yeah, here,
relationship
I'll
to
take care of
Mile
it.
Street.
All right, so everyone knows. Okay. So is this Mile right here? Yeah. So this is the intersection of Broad and Mile where it kind of turns. Broadway. Apologies. Broadway and Mile where it turns. These properties are, picture this, if Broadway is extended another block, it's past the dead end.
27 years. So.
Melrose is basically an imaginary street. It's called a paper street. It doesn't exist, but it would be the next street over from Mile. If you picture that in your head, if it were a city block, Melrose would be the one after that if there was another one after that. So that's where these properties are, and they butt right up to the Bristol Gardens Apartments.
Just to throw this in there, over the years, right there at the intersection of Broadway and Mile, I guess you're aware of the trash dumping. People come there and they dump tires, transmissions, even landscaping materials that they did? And would you propose to be part of keeping that clean if you're gonna build a street there, a road,
Yes,
entryway?
yes.
And that would be your entryway there, right? What I
Yes,
said.
that would be my entryway, yes. And then, yeah, where you see where the entryway starts right there? There's a gate now. They installed a gate right there. Did you
Yes,
notice
I
that?
saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
I
installed
saw
a gate there.
last week.
Yeah, all back in there, going all the way down that gravel road behind there on the other side of that little fence and where the partition is. That's all garbage, and there's like roofing material, and there's all kinds of stuff back there. I mean, I have to clean the whole place up. It's gonna, it's gotta be, 3 40-yard dumpsters worth of stuff, and that's what it's gonna take to clean it up. And then because if I, get approved for this, I'll keep it clean. That's all it comes down
Sounds
to.
good. And you are aware that on the other end of the street, a mile and, Still Avenue, there's a bus stop there. Cars park anywhere they wanna park. It's tough to turn in and out of there. And just to make you aware of it, when
Right.
you bring your trucks and trailers in and out.
Right.
It is a bus stop there for the town.
But they're only gonna be there, like, they're only in the morning, and then they're leaving, and then they come back at the end of the day. So they're only at one time through the day.
Just make
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Well, easy, we can't.
No, hang on.
I lost all
All right, so I think the concern is that everyone's saying here that potentially corresponds to the time where kids take the bus, where they leave in the morning and come back. So what I would say is what we would do to address that is, generally speaking, Larry's employees are gonna come before time, like 7 or so, and they'll be coming back to the property after typical school hours. However, if they are coming to the property around the time the bus is there, then they'll take another way to make sure that they don't interfere with any of the,
Or we change the hours.
or we'll change, or we'll change the hours of operation to ensure that's not an issue. We don't want to cause problems. We really, honest to goodness, don't.
I'll just have them come in an hour, I'm sorry, I'll just have them come in an hour later. That's all. That's all it comes down to.
Well, the first bus.
We can't, listen.
I just would like to say, my name is Alice Danzig.
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Your name, please?
Alice Sanzik.
Alice, A-L-I-C?
Like in Wonderland.
Okay.
3151 Fairway.
Spell your next name, please.
Sanzik, S-A-N-Z-I-C-K.
And you can state your address, please.
3151 Fairway Avenue. I'm right on the corner of Fairway and Broadway. And I'm the Gnome House, for anybody who rode around. So, the buses start, because my grandson's bus comes at 6 a.m. The grade schools don't come till closer to 9. So that window, you're at work, you're going to work. The people are flying by. We stand sometimes out on steel to slow down the cars and yell at them. Both ends.
Yeah.
Both ends. There's only 2 ways back there. Mile and Mott. Only 2 ways. Mott. Like the applesauce. So there are only 2 ways there, 2 ways to your business, 2 ways for all of us, 2 ways for the school buses, all the kids. That's my concern. All our babies. They're more important than any business, any flooding. It's our children. I've been here since 1974. I bought my house when I was in high school. I've watched all these kids for all these years. I don't want to see them being run down. They get run down practically every day with just the people, without equipment. It's as simple as that. It's a residential property. It should be residential. If they were going to build houses, they would build 4 houses. You'd have 8 cars possibly. And more children, more taxes, more revenue. It's simple. I don't have any other question. That is my statement. I just don't feel it's a necessary thing. We have so many abandoned properties in our township where you could put it anywhere, anywhere. Everything is empty. Go up and down 13. It's empty. I mean, really, and I'm in advertising. I'd sell you a darn ad, but I don't think you belong in a residential property. I'm sorry.
All right, come on up, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Gay, G-A-Y-E, last name Palmer, P-A-L-M-E-R. 3213 Glen Rose Avenue in Bristol. I just wanted to touch on the roadway in. The only way to get back into that property is 413 Rockview Drive. Coming down Newport Road, down Steel Avenue. I just have to agree with the woman that spoke before me. The bus stops in the morning are horrific. There are no sidewalks on Rockview Drive. The kids stand in the street. There's no sidewalks on Steel Avenue. The kids stand in the street. It's even worse when it rains because they're really in the street because the properties are all flooded. And I stand at that bus stop daily and protect the kids there. I know that another woman here does the same thing. You're going to be pulling large pieces of equipment from that back property, and you cannot avoid going through any area that's a concern where there's children. And your hours are going to be coinciding with bus stops all the way down Rockview Drive, coming in and coming in. So you're going to have your guys coming in the morning. They're going to come down Rockview Drive. They're going to come down Steel Avenue. They're going to go down Mile Street. They're going to cut into your paper road. And then they're going to grab their equipment and come back out and do the same thing while these kids are all standing at bus stops in the street because there's no sidewalks. It's really a concern. Steel Avenue is a racetrack as it is. And I can tell you as a grandmom and other parents that are there, we have to a lot of times protect those kids. Those buses can't even make the turns. Bus number 8 turns down Mile Street every day. Every day that bus has a hard time getting down Mile Street. Bus 44 or bus 8 can't even make it sometimes, has to come down to Mott and turn on Mott. And the kids are all standing on the corner of Mott in the street because the lawns are all flooded. I don't care what the property looks like. I don't see it. I don't think anybody here really cares. If you want to keep pressing that it's going to be glorified, I could care less what it looks like back there. I don't see it. Nobody here sees it. My concern is the safety for these kids and the school bus drivers that are already having a difficult time. We're short on bus drivers as it is, and I don't think that it's a great idea to make it more of a problem for parents of small kids and the bus drivers in the township. When that route, the only way in is, like I said, Rockview Drive or coming off of Newport Road. There's no other way for you to get back there.
Thank you.
That's it. And to briefly respond, if I may, you know, look, we obviously, safety is important to us as it is to you. You know, like I said, we're trying to be good neighbors. Larry has the same guys who've been working for him for how long? Same guys who drive in, same guys who drive out. And if anyone were to have any issue with any of them, if somebody's going a little fast, first of all, Larry has more control and more power over his drivers than any random passerby would. You know, you see somebody going a little fast, you come by, you say something, you talk to Larry, and that stops. You know. Hang on.
Listen, please don't blurt it out, please.
All my guys are fathers, they're grandparents. They're not going to come flying through your neighborhood. They all have kids, grandkids. I mean, I don't know what more to say about that. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I know you guys have issues with people not stopping at the stop signs, people driving up and down the, you know, kids flying in and out of there when they get out of high school, what's going on. You know, I see, you know, whole shop marks going down, especially on Steel Avenue, right there at that one where Steel and Mile is. There's tire tracks from kids doing burnouts. I mean, I see all that. I see it. My guys aren't going to do that. They know that they can't go over 20 miles an hour going down the street. That's the way it's gonna be. But, I mean, you can take it for what it is with me, you don't know me, so, but I'm telling you what it's gonna be. So, that's not really, that shouldn't even be a concern, to be honest with you. I understand what you are concerned about, but it's really not gonna be a concern, because like I said, they all have kids and grandkids. Like I said, the people that work for me let's see. One's a grandfather, he's got 6 grandkids. His son-in-law works for me, his 2 brothers work for me, and they all have kids. They all have grandkids. I mean, I don't know what more I can say about that.
Sir? No, so you'll be next, sir.
Okay, there you go.
No, go ahead, come on.
How you doing?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Can you spell your name, please?
Yes, it's Platon, Platon, Pallis, Pallis.
Can you state your address, please?
3218 Steele, Steele Avenue, Bristol, PA. All right, gentlemen. 3.5 tons to come up off of 413 onto Rockview. Are you guys changing that weight by chance?
Excuse me?
The weight limit to come onto Rockview off of 413. 3.5 ton weight limit? That's a sign.
I'm aware of.
Yeah. I've gotten pulled over for it myself. Just going to my house with the wrong truck. My neighbors have. It happens. Your F-550. What is that? What's that? About 20,000 pounds?
That's what the
Yeah.
26,000 pounds.
You need a variance on
they're
that weight
registered
limit,
for.
don't you? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that.
She
I
doesn't have
apologize.
fast enough fingers.
Okay, so that truck plus a 24-foot average trailer you would use?
Roughly.
Empty weight?
Empty
13?
weight,
20,000?
no, not empty, no. Empty weight, 4,000 is empty weight, roughly.
Think so?
Yeah, absolutely. For a 24-foot trailer, empty, enclosed.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'll go with that. You can throw a bunch of lawnmowers, weed whackers, blowers.
Now you're closer to 7.
So what do you figure that total weight is coming up that 3.5 ton street?
Well, the truck weighs, the F-550, last time I had it on a scale was, I'm pretty sure it was 9,800 pounds, maybe 10,000 pounds,
Is it
somewhere
really?
around there. I think
Okay.
that's on the scale when you go to buy.
You're saying that whole unit?
No, I'm talking about the
Oh,
truck. I'm talking
okay,
about the truck. Okay.
All right.
And then you put the trailer on it. You're talking roughly another 7,000 pounds if you're loaded up with mowers. Okay, the mowing trailer.
Right.
You're talking about 17,000 pounds. You're right. And then
You realize what the fine would be just to come up Rockview with that? Rockview at this, 3.5 metric tons is 7,716 pounds.
almost
right?
8,000 pounds.
Right.
Right.
You're overweight by 10,000 pounds, just turning on the street. Come on. And we got oil trucks making deliveries, we got landscapers, but we don't have a business right off of Steele Avenue and Mile Street that's bringing in 5 trucks, 4 trucks.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, a triaxle, that's 80,000.
What I would say to that, obviously, that's not a zoning ordinance, so it's not quite, before this board, but I understand what you're saying, but it's nothing different than, hey, when someone gets a UPS delivery, depending, when the trash truck comes, and. The point is, what we're trying to say here is we're literally having potentially 3 landscaping trucks go out in the morning, come back at night. It's again the same type of incidental, that's what it is, really incidental traffic, as you would see with a variety of other uses and with even services that you and your neighbors get all the time. That's really the sum and total of it.
What I just stated, though, the truck with the equipment on it, we're going with low numbers on that. Each one of them trucks, every pass, up and down Rockview, up Rockview, down Mile, onto Steele, whatever direction, is 10,000 pounds more than what is allowable on those roads. Each truck So it's 30,000 pounds per truck, per trip, or I'm sorry, 30,000 pounds per trip, 3 trucks. You're only saying 3 trucks. He's gonna have more. I mean, I hope he does. I'm just not in my neighborhood, man, that's all. I mean, the whole flooding issue, that's another thing. We had 3 feet of water in our basement. Twice. And they said it was a 100-year storm. That happened within 10 years. 100 years got pretty tight. And the worst part, I was out of town. My wife had to deal with that crap. I heard about it, don't get me wrong. But
Okay, thank you. You're next, sir.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can I have your name, please?
Joel Ross?
J-O-E-L?
Yes.
R-O-S-S?
Yes.
Can you state your address, please?
1433 Miles Street, Bristol. All right. I met Larry. Larry came to my house. Seemed like a nice gentleman. But we do have issues on our block. The gentleman was just up here about trucks and the weight limits. I drove a truck myself. That whole area, it floods out. Like every now and then, by Bristol Garden Department, it floods out totally. It's like a swimming pool in there. And all through the other backyard, across my neighbor's house, across the street, their whole backyard all floods too. So this paper street you want to put in on Broadway, to extend Broadway, is he going to extend the culvert? And then he's going to turn on Melrose. He's going to extend the culvert on Melrose. And what about the equipment? Does the equipment run on diesel, gasoline? Will you have any of that gasoline products on the site? All right, right next door to there is Bristol Gardens Apartments. We've had issues with people coming from that place, vandalizing the area. So he puts up a fence. It's not going to stop these kids from climbing over that fence and abusing his property and his equipment. I mentioned it to him that day he came to the door. What's going to prevent people from doing that?
You mean stealing and coming into the property, you mean? Is that what you're saying?
Stealing, vandalizing what you have?
Listen, if somebody wants to get something bad enough, they can get it. There's nothing they could cut a hole in the side of your house and get something, you know? It's just the way it is. I'm just stating a fact. If somebody wants something bad enough, they'll get it. I mean, so really, it's hard to really police something like that, you know? It just is.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So will you be storing diesel fuel on your property?
Not just what's in the trucks.
Do your trucks run on diesel?
Trucks run on diesel.
Okay. And so what time of the year do you operate? Do you operate in the wintertime?
Yes.
Okay. So you have to start your equipment up in the wintertime. So your equipment's going to be running for an hour
No.
to start up and warm up. You're not going to warm your equipment up before you get going?
They
Our
warm
diesel
up.
engine?
Wait a minute, one at a time, please.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Go ahead.
They started up, you know, it'll sit there for 15 minutes just to get it to operating temperature, and then they go. These trucks nowadays, diesel trucks especially the newer ones, you can't idle them because of the new emission systems they have in them. You cannot idle them because what happens is they have what they call a DPF filter, and the DPF filter gets clogged up, and it's $1,500 to replace. So you can't really idle them things anymore. Like they used, you know how big tractor trailers, you see the guys sitting and idling? You can't do that anymore because of the new emissions.
Yes, I understand that. But okay. I'm talking about the equipment as far as the skid loaders and the other piece of equipment where they don't have that equipment on there. Where, you know, after a certain date, they weren't required to have that. They don't get yearly emission inspections, you know, for a skid loader or other piece of equipment.
Right.
All right, my other question, like I said, about the street, about the flooding. Our street just had extruded drainage lines put in, things like a week and a half ago on our block because of cracking, because trucks coming or vehicles coming on our block over the year and damaging the culverts down our block. They were just put in, you know, that system where they use like extruded fiberglass, whatever, and they pump it through the pipe and it screws out and it seals the thing. They did it from Middle Mile Street down to Steely, and they popped all the culverts up. But that's the issue we've been having too. And yes, there are kids there. I have grandkids there, and I don't want to see my grandkids. And it starts getting warmer coming out there and having this traffic. You know, learn how to ride a bike for the first time. Being a little unsteady. You know, my driveway goes down. It's a slope of my drive. I can't teach them my driveway, but you know, you try to teach how to ride a bike. It's kind of hard. You have 2 trucks coming around. So the main issue I have also is the lighting. For instance, is your property going to be lit at nighttime? I mean,
That'll probably be one of the last things we do when it does, but the lights will be LED and they'll shine straight down and with everything that's,
If I may, so, you know, obviously you have to have some sort of minor security lighting, but whatever's, all that's approved by the township, and that is one of those things that is is a big issue these days, light pollution, to make sure it's angled properly and to make sure the actual lights themselves don't shine into nearby residences. That is a significant issue in Bristol Township. It's
Well,
very
I
good.
have a direct view across the street from my house to where you're gonna be locating, and personally, this is to the township councilman, I would prefer, there's houses up the street from me, it formerly was 600 by, I guess it was 300 feet wooded lot on each side of Miles Street and Steel and Broadway. And Jim's Tree Service this past year came in and then clear cut most of the property. And we're in the dark on our block. Most of us think they're going to be building homes there. Now, I was hoping tonight that the person who owns those lots, that just had Jim's Tree Service clear cut that property, because it looked a hell of a lot better before. The trees in there, I loved how it looked before, like you're in a country. I hope they would be here, because if they're going to build homes there, I'd rather somebody build homes behind him where he wants to put his equipment. And another taxpayer, you know, my taxes are high in this township. You know, I'm paying like $200 in school tax, plus your things tax. Bring people in the township, bring children in here, families, grow the community. This is not grow our community.
Listen.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Listen, you're gonna have to bring up taxes with council, all right? We're not council here. We're the zoning hearing board, all
Right.
right? So, you know.
I'm just saying, I'd rather see.
You're kind of filibustering right now,
Okay.
so.
All right.
Okay?
All right, I'm
So-
just saying, I'd rather see community come in, sir.
Okay, so just relax, all right? So, is that, you good now, or?
No, I'm good now. Maybe I need a drink of water or something.
All right.
All right? Larry seems like a nice guy. He does seem like a nice guy. But Larry, where do you live? In Fairless Hills. Earlier you stayed at Bristol.
You know where Worcester Woods is?
You stayed at Bristol earlier.
Worcester Woods is? Worcester Woods,
know where
so
Worcester-
where the tech school
Yes,
is on?
I know where the
It's
Wild
Bristol
is, and
Township.
Worcester Road and New Falls, yes.
Okay.
One
It's-
at a time, please.
It's over where Bishop Egan kind of is, and then it's down the road. Then we're to go over the bridge, and then, but it's Bristol Township, but but my address is considered Fairless Hills. You understand what I mean by that? I pay my taxes to Bristol Township, yes.
That is Bristol Township.
It's a Bristol Township neighborhood.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, this other place in the town, somebody mentioned earlier, Route 13 is designated. So it's got to be somewhere else in the township that's not residential. This gentleman can go to. He's a nice guy. He seems like a nice guy. I'm sure he has nice employees. He says most of his guys are married, single. Do you have any single migrant workers or other people that are single? You know.
Mr. Ross, we're getting off on a tangent again here.
Okay. Look, all I'm saying is I'd rather see residential properties. I'll sit down.
Point well taken, thank you. All right. Sir.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Can I have your name, please?
John DiMaio,
John, J-O-H-N,
yes,
and your last name.
D-I-M-E-O,
Can you state your address, please?
3170 Broadway Avenue.
Thank you.
Question about your business. Is there going to be a cap on the number of vehicles and a restriction on the type of vehicles that you're going to have on the lot?
Yes, we would absolutely agree to make those conditions.
So you're not going to expand above 5 trucks?
Right.
Because you've got a lot of empty spaces there that you could fill up,
Well,
whether it's got a fence around it or not.
right, I understand that, yeah. I mean, but no, I mean, I have my business where I'm at right now. That's as large as I want to get, okay? Years ago, I had 35 employees, and it was just too much for me to manage. So I just scaled it way back.
When?
Yes.
When you started your business, did you have 5 trucks?
No, I had, let me see, the first year was 2 trucks, and then it went to 3. Now I'm at 5. But
So
I'm done.
If your business is successful, you're probably going to want to expand and bring in more vehicles, and I don't know. I know
some of your type of, your vehicles that you're using now, but maybe you want to bring in bigger equipment.
No, I don't, because I don't want to, I know you don't like.
Is that going to be?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is that going to be specified in the?
Yes, if that can become a condition of the,
Yeah, we would readily put in a limitation on the number of vehicles of the property, together with the weights too, again,
And when would that be done, and by who?
that would be done provided, upon any potential approval of the application, the board would approve it potentially with conditions. And the conditions would center on some of what we advised earlier in terms of no employees full-time working on the property, no contracting work on the property, limitation on vehicles, limitation on square footage of the gravelled area, limitation on weights of vehicles, that sort of thing. We would obviously be more than happy to make those conditions because, look, we wanted to conform with what Larry's business is, but we also want to protect the community in case, hey, look, let's say something happens. Let's say, as much as I hate to say this, let's say Larry gets hit by a car tomorrow and then his business is run by somebody else. To make sure it stays, make sure that whoever owns that property colors within the lines.
The board issues an opinion within 45 days. In that opinion is where the conditions are stated. So even if there's an approval tonight, until that opinion is issued, the appeal period actually doesn't begin to run. But in that opinion would have all these conditions that were put on the record. That's why the stenographer is here, so that we can make sure the opinion's written up appropriately.
anybody in the audience have anything new to add? Come on up, sir.
Yes. Jamie? Yes. Y-A-C-K? I-M? O-W? I-C-Z. 806 Langs Avenue, off of Dixon. Yes. Thank you for your time. Will there be any chemicals stored at that site? No fungicide, no chemical
sorry.
fertilizer, no herbicide?
The fertilizer comes in and it goes right out. Yes, there will be some, but it is not stored there. It's in and it goes out. That's it. But it's fertilizer.
And as far as the trash on the property, shouldn't that be the responsibility of the current property owner to clean that now?
Well, if this gentleman buys the property and the condition is that he cleans it up when he buys it, you know, then
That seems to be a big point of his, that I'm gonna get it all cleaned up, but shouldn't it already have been cleaned up?
It's a very good point, right?
Yes.
That's why he's using it. That's why he's here.
Well,
He's trying to
but-
sway, he's trying to sway the people in the neighborhood to go his way. I mean, that's what he's using as a tool, so.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else to add? Anything new? Come on up, ma'am.
Renee Berry, R-E-N-E-E, Berry, B-E-R-R-Y.
Do solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please state your address, please.
1437 Mile Street. Hi, hello. I just have a couple questions with that. In saying you're starting a business there, I know people go in and out in the mornings, this and that. People might stop at the Wawa, grab a cup of coffee. When they get to the site to go to work, where do they intend to use the restroom?
I'm sorry, I didn't say that. I'm sorry, say that again. Restroom? Restroom? Well, they don't, my guys, I mean, I've never experienced them doing what they do, okay? If I need to get graphic about this, it's not really.
Question, just
What
a
I'm
simple
saying is,
question.
when they're on a job site and there's no, I'm being honest here, okay? And there's no facility, they will go into a trailer and they will pee in a water bottle. So,
That's my point, correct.
I mean, I'm being honest here. I'm not trying to pull wool over anybody's eyes here,
If
but they're
you're
not
saying
gonna.
there's 12
but-
employees.
But I'm saying they're gonna be out, all I'm saying, they're on a job site, okay? That's what they do. I mean, that's just what it is, you know?
Okay, and then you take this water bottle
And
and do
throw
what
it in
with
the,
it?
and throw it in the garbage.
And you have dumpsters there on properties?
There will be a dumpster on property. I'm saying, not when they're on site. I'm talking about when they're on job sites is what I'm talking about, okay?
I kind of
Which
just
doesn't-
wonder in my neighborhood as well.
Right.
Let me go to my next question. With the snow removal, you said you are involved with the snow removal. We understand that snow removal it can be all nights, days, weekends. So that's out of the hours that you're staying Monday through Friday or XYZ amount of days from 7:30 this time. So now we have snow removal. We have trucks coming up and down all hours of the night. What are your hours
Well,
snow removal?
Let me explain that also. What I do is, my snow removal is basically retirement communities. I have retirement communities I take care of. So they don't like us being in there at night. They like us being in there in the morning. When we go in the morning and we work all through the day, and then we come back at night. They don't like us being in there at night because they're disrupting their sleep and everything at night. So that's how we do it. That's how we.
Elderly community, okay.
And I do have
Most of the companies that I know do it
commercial.
overnight.
I'm sorry.
Most of the companies I know, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Go
can hear
ahead.
myself. So with that said, my concern is, my company always does it overnight. It's easier for parking lots and this and that to get in and out before anybody comes to work, so you
Right.
appreciate the snow removal. So you're saying you usually do not do snow removal overnight?
No, not overnight. Not in retirement communities. I don't.
So
Now
you-
I have commercial stuff that I do also, but that's what we do with the trucks. Okay, and my guys that do that, they take the truck home with them.
Okay.
And then they leave from home, from where they live, and then they do this. I have, listen, I have 3 retirement communities that I take care of, okay? And I have 4 industrial communities, industrial complexes, basically, businesses that I take care of. And the trucks that take care of those businesses, basically, the guys take the trucks home and they leave from their house, and then we do it then.
And you don't store any salt or calcium chloride? Then how do you?
No, I guess to the job site. To the job site. Like, I'll store on the job site pallets of salt, okay?
That's what you use, is just
Yeah,
salt,
just
nothing
yeah.
else?
Yeah, I don't use big hopper spreaders because they'd rot the
No.
trucks out. I don't use them.
Okay, so you're storing salt on the property as well? Or they deliver to the job site?
They deliver the salt to the job site, yes.
So they take them to the retirement communities and you pick up the salt at retirement communities?
Yes.
Okay. That was my next question with that. And pretty much everybody's asked the other questions. Just my concern is, again, no sidewalks on Mile Street. When a car passes you, because people park in the street, we have to pull over. 2 cars usually don't go up and down the street at the same time. You're pulling over and you're going around. No sidewalks, flooding. I'm the nearest house right across there to you, and it's crazy to drive Mile Street. It's
I know you live a mile.
right on the corner, next to the woods, where they cut down all the trees.
Oh, you're talking
Now
about
the
that corner,
traffic,
the one corner house right
the
there.
wind,
Right.
they cut down, they killed all the wildlife. No more falcons, no more eagles, no more nothing in the woods.
Right.
It's terrible. I mean, the wind going through there, the noise from 95 now is crazy. You can't even sleep at night
That's
in the
where a
lighting. It's
builder
just,
bought, right?
it's terrible what's just happened to the neighborhood. And now to put trucks on the road, I appreciate your business, but just, I don't understand how they think they're gonna make these corners down the street with children and my children in the street and playing in the street, playing basketball, riding bikes. It's just crazy now, and my concern is that right there, and with the flooding, I can't see how it's justified. I really can't. But thank you, I don't have any more questions, and I don't wanna hold you up for the evening.
Come on up, sir.
Hi, my name's John Kane, 1520 Mile Street. Kane. That's correct.
J-O-H-N.
That's correct.
Can you raise your right hand, please?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, yes.
And your address, please.
1520 Mile Street. Part of the property does enjoin into my backyard. Having to smell fertilizer in my backyard coming or going is not fair. It's a public nuisance to me. It's a nuisance per se, as you know. Our community is a residential neighborhood. If you could, Bobby, could you like zoom in so we can see the whole neighborhood, please?
If you switch over to the parcel viewer, that's probably better.
Well, that's a little bit better, yes. What I would like to say is where this property is, it's going through a whole residential neighborhood. It's going not through Mile Street, it's going to go through Broadway. From what I understood about the turn radius, you would have to use Mott and Broadway for some of your larger vehicles to go straight shot into that. Is that correct? Okay. So it puts a lot of our residents at risk. Sorry. Bryce? Not a lot of people, I got the registered mail letter from you. Not a lot of people knew about this going on. I had to go through the neighborhood. I went through more than 12 houses. It was only going to be one house, sorry. And then I told my wife I'm only going to be gone for like about a half hour. What wound up being, I was gone for like 4 hours and accumulated about 70 signatures. Nobody knew about this going on. I just find your business belongs on a major highway, not within a residential neighborhood. To grant a variance like this in a residential neighborhood for commercial use would be opening Pandora's box to every neighborhood, not just this one. If I had my magic laser, there's an open property over there, and any property could be used as such. There's no going back to it. And if Mr. Fulford gets his variance, he could store whatever he wants. Yeah, right, wait, I know you want to bite your tongue, but once his variance, you can expand and have more vehicles in. But then he could sell it, and it could be used again like that. I'd rather have houses in there. I'm not going to go regurgitate the flooding and all that stuff. We have a lot, it's a residential neighborhood. We're a community. We have families, elderly people, people with health problems, hearing impaired, and severe autism. I was disappointed that only a few notices were mailed, and I suspect none were delivered into the Rockdale section. Elements will cause harm to public welfare, traffic and safety problems, and destroy local wildlife habitat, and possible building future residential homes, and lower our property values. For myself, I don't want to go in my backyard, sorry if I go in there. Is it fair to you or anyone that you go in your backyard and you would have to go smell a hin of manure or rocks or dirt or dust, or on the morning I want to sleep in, I have to hear vehicles starting up, or at night when I'm relaxing, clanking of vehicles? How are these materials going to just mysteriously appear? They're going to get transported. We're not Keystone Park. We are a residential neighborhood. We need to preserve that. I just keep it residential. I've lived here all my life at Bristol Township. I've donated my time, volunteered. Bobby, I remember you playing soccer when you were little. So I've been here. I love our township. I appreciate what you do, and I urge you to protect a residential neighborhood. I don't blame Mr. Fulford, but there's plenty of properties out there, like the abandoned Wawa near Walgreens or Georgine's Juniors. You scoff. You think that's funny.
Well, hang on. So a lot of the property, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Bryce. I got you.
So a lot of the properties you identified, you know, it's the type of thing where the township's trying to expand on certain commercial avenues, and they don't want a landscaper there. So that's kind of not really an us thing. No, because the reason why, hang on, stop, if I may.
Let him finish, let him finish, go ahead.
If I may.
Go ahead,
The
Bryce.
reason why is 'cause that's not a dynamic enough use for some of the limited commercial opportunities that are available in Bristol Township. That's the reason. It's not because of any offensive or noxious or anything like that. And I just want to address a few of the other concerns you mentioned. So we notified a list that the township provides. We sent out notices as required. But what we also did after that was we tried to have a neighbor meeting, and I know I sent you a letter on that, sir.
Yes.
And we sent letters to what we thought were the residences who were nearest to the project, who'd be most interested. And, you know, I wish you would have attended so that you could have expressed some of these concerns, and I would have been more than happy to talk
Bryce,
to you.
you can explain a beautiful rainbow or a circus coming to town. We don't want this type of business exposed into a residential neighborhood. And like I was saying, it's not just Miles Street, Broadway, Rockview. There's a bunch of kids that go through these streets and they walk, people walk their pets. They use the streets. And of course, we don't have sidewalks. All I'm saying is, I just want to build houses, build a residential area, which would add value to a community. There's plenty of places outside on major thoroughfares that Mr. Fulford can have his business. That's all I'd like to say.
All right.
I would hope you deny this variance. Thank you very much.
All right. So it's getting kind of late. So, anybody else? Anything new to add?
Can I add one more thing?
No.
One more thing. All I want to say.
Come on up, real quick.
Okay, I was sworn in already. Joel Ross. Okay. All I want to say is there's plenty of open land in this township. You allowed U-Haul to go where Pathmark was. There's plenty of parking spots in U-Haul parking lot. And there was Greyhound Trails. There was Big Lot. All these different stores in there are all swallowed by U-Haul. And there's a big open parking lot there. He can fence it off. You lease it, get something else.
Mr. Ross, maybe the economics of his business can't afford a property that size. Do you know what I'm saying?
He wouldn't be buying, he'd be leasing it.
Listen, I'm making a statement, okay? Let you, everybody here talk, right? So I'm making a statement. I'm just saying to you, Mr. Ross,
Okay.
that maybe he doesn't have the funds to have a property like that. Maybe this is why he's looking into this. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I'm just saying that he wouldn't have to buy anything. He didn't have to lease it off them. And as a 2-lane turn-in, off, he's going in there. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you. Okay. So, listen, we got the idea. You guys aren't for it. I get it. All right? So, we're going to stop the public comments for right now, and then we're going to, I need a motion. I need a motion from the board to deny or accept this application. So think hard and long if you'd like. And when you come up with one, you let me know. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I need a second on the approval.
I'll second.
Mr. Secretary, call the board, please.
Gerard Lycon.
I'm gonna have to say no.
Mark DeMarcus. No. Tim McMahon.
That would be a no also.
Colleen Dunn. Ed Murphy, yes. All right, the noes have it.
No, listen. Another statement. So, when somebody decides to put houses here, right, we're not gonna have problems, right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Good luck.
Everyone has to drive. Drive with inside the wall. You can't drive on any.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I need a. I'm sorry. All in favor? I think the ayes have it.